Have you ever wondered why some conflicts seem to last forever? Wars begin, peace talks are announced, ceasefires are signed, yet somehow another crisis always emerges. Another conflict erupts. Another headline dominates the news. After decades of watching this cycle repeat itself, many people have started asking a difficult question. Is it simply bad luck? Or is there a larger system at work? Today, we're exploring one of the most controversial ideas in modern geopolitics. Some analysts argue that war is not just a tragedy. They believe it has also become part of a larger economic model, one that influences military spending, global finance, energy markets, and international politics. Others strongly disagree, arguing that wars are driven by complex historical, political, and security factors that cannot be reduced to economics alone. Wherever you stand, one thing is clear: the world is changing. Artificial intelligence is advancing faster than almost anyone expected. Governments are investing billions in semiconductor manufacturing, energy infrastructure, cloud computing, and massive AI data centers. Technology companies have become some of the most valuable organizations in human history. Meanwhile, the global balance of power is shifting. China continues expanding its manufacturing capabilities. The Gulf states are investing enormous amounts of capital into artificial intelligence and digital infrastructure. The United States remains the world's financial leader while trying to maintain influence across multiple regions. And in the middle of all this, conflicts continue to shape international headlines. Some observers believe these events are connected. They argue that the economic incentives driving the previous era may no longer align with the needs of the next one. Because building the future requires something war rarely provides: stability. Think about it. A trillion-dollar AI ecosystem cannot function without reliable electricity. Massive data centers need uninterrupted power. Global semiconductor supply chains depend on secure shipping routes. Cloud infrastructure relies on stable communications networks. Investors committing hundreds of billions of dollars want predictability, not constant geopolitical uncertainty. If the next economic revolution truly belongs to artificial intelligence, robotics, automation, and advanced computing, then the incentives that shaped previous decades may begin to change. But before we explore where the world could be heading, we first need to understand how we got here. Throughout history, every great economic era has been built around a dominant resource. Centuries ago, it was land. Later, it became industrial production. Then came oil. Today, many believe information has become the most valuable resource on Earth. Artificial intelligence depends on enormous amounts of data. That data requires computing power. Computing power requires chips. Chips require factories. Factories require energy. Energy requires stable infrastructure. Every piece connects to another. This raises an important question. What happens when the world's biggest economic opportunity depends more on stability than conflict? Some analysts believe we may already be witnessing that transition. Others argue that conflict and technological progress have always existed side by side, making predictions about a dramatic shift overly simplistic. The truth is likely more complicated than either extreme. Understanding today's geopolitical landscape requires looking beyond headlines. It requires examining incentives, who benefits from certain outcomes, who bears the costs, and how do governments, corporations, investors, and citizens fit into this increasingly interconnected system. These are difficult questions. There are no easy answers. But by examining history, economics, and global strategy together, we can begin to see patterns that are often overlooked. In this documentary, we'll explore several major ideas. We'll examine how military alliances have evolved over time. We'll look at the relationship between economic interests and foreign policy. We'll discuss the growing influence of artificial intelligence on national strategy. We'll analyze why infrastructure, semiconductor manufacturing, and energy security have become top priorities for governments around the world. And finally, we'll consider whether the global economy is entering a new era, one where technology increasingly becomes the primary driver of competition. This is not a story about good versus evil, nor is it about reducing complex international events to a single explanation. Instead, it's an exploration of incentives, power, and the changing forces shaping our world. Because history often becomes easier to understand when we stop asking who is right and start asking why different actors make the decisions they do. To answer that question, we need to travel back through history. Long before artificial intelligence, long before the internet, long before the modern financial system, there was another empire that helped define the rules of global power. An understanding that history may help explain why today's world looks the way it does. Let's begin. The historical evolution of global power. History has a habit of repeating itself, but rarely in exactly the same way. Every great power eventually reaches a moment when it must decide whether to preserve the existing system or adapt to a changing world. Some succeed, others don't. The decisions made during these turning points often shape global history for generations. To understand today's geopolitical landscape, we first need to examine how global leadership has evolved over the past 2 centuries. For much of the 19th century, the British Empire stood at the center of the international system. At its height, Britain controlled trade routes, maintained the world's most powerful navy, and governed territories across nearly every continent. Historians often describe this period as Pax Britannica, when British naval dominance helped secure global commerce while also advancing British strategic and economic interests. The Industrial Revolution gave Britain an enormous advantage. Coal fueled factories, steamships accelerated international trade, railroads connected distant markets, industrial production expanded rapidly, transforming Britain into one of the world's wealthiest nations. But every dominant power eventually faces competition. By the early 20th century, new industrial nations, including Germany and the United States, were rising quickly. Technological innovation accelerated, competition intensified, alliances became increasingly complex. The result was the First World War. The devastation of World War I reshaped Europe, but it did not end global rivalry. Economic instability, political extremism, and unresolved tensions contributed to an even larger conflict 2 decades later. World War II changed everything. By 1945, much of Europe lay in ruins. Millions of lives had been lost. Economies needed rebuilding. International institutions had to be created almost from scratch. Unlike previous eras, one country emerged from the war with its industrial base largely intact and its economy stronger than ever before. That country was the United States. America became the world's largest economy, its strongest military power, and the leading architect of a new international order. New institutions such as the United Nations, the International Monetary Fund, and the World Bank were established to encourage cooperation and reduce the likelihood of another global conflict. At the same time, the Bretton Woods system placed the US dollar at the center of international finance. This decision would influence global trade for decades. As more countries conducted business in dollars, demand for the US currency increased. That strengthened America's financial influence and made the dollar the world's primary reserve currency. But another challenge soon emerged: the Cold War. Rather than fighting each other directly, the United States and the Soviet Union competed through ideology, diplomacy, technology, intelligence operations, and regional conflicts. The fear of nuclear war discouraged direct confrontation between the two superpowers. Instead, competition often unfolded elsewhere. Military alliances expanded, economic partnerships deepened. Scientific achievements became symbols of national prestige. The space race, the nuclear arms race, and technological innovation all became parts of this broader geopolitical competition. When the Soviet Union dissolved in 1991, many believed a new era of peace had begun. Instead, globalization accelerated. International trade expanded dramatically. Manufacturing spread across continents. The internet connected billions of people. Financial markets became increasingly interconnected. Supply chains stretched around the globe. The world grew wealthier in many ways, but also more dependent on stability. One disruption in a single region could now affect factories, shipping, energy prices, and financial markets worldwide. Then came another transformation, the digital revolution. Companies built around software, data, and technology began surpassing traditional industrial giants in market value. Businesses that barely existed a generation earlier became some of the largest corporations in history. Data became an economic asset. Cloud computing changed business operations. Smartphones connected billions of people. Artificial intelligence evolved from academic research into a strategic national priority. Governments recognized that technological leadership would increasingly determine economic and military competitiveness. Today's race is no longer just about territory. It's about computing power, semiconductor manufacturing, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, quantum computing, space infrastructure, energy production, critical minerals, and the digital systems that connect them all. Unlike previous industrial revolutions, this one depends on an extraordinary amount of infrastructure. Advanced AI systems require enormous computing clusters. Those computing clusters require specialized semiconductor chips. Those chips require highly advanced manufacturing facilities costing tens of billions of dollars. The factories require stable electricity. Electricity requires reliable power grids. Power grids require secure energy supplies. Every layer depends on another. This is why governments around the world are investing unprecedented amounts of money into AI infrastructure. It's not simply about building smarter software. It's about building the foundation of tomorrow's economy. Countries increasingly view artificial intelligence as a matter of national security. The United States has introduced major initiatives to strengthen domestic semiconductor production. European nations are expanding digital infrastructure. China continues investing heavily in AI, manufacturing, and advanced technology. Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Qatar are directing billions of dollars toward technology investments and diversification. Around the world, governments are preparing for an economy where information and computing power may become as strategically important as oil was during the 20th century. But this transition raises an important question. If stability becomes essential for technological progress, how does that affect industries whose growth has historically depended on geopolitical uncertainty? Economists often describe industries as responding to incentives. Businesses invest where they expect returns. Governments allocate resources based on perceived risks and opportunities. Markets continuously adjust to changing conditions. Some analysts argue that global priorities may now be shifting toward technology, infrastructure, and long-term investment. Others caution that geopolitical competition remains intense and that military strength will continue playing a central role in international relations. The next chapter of this story isn't simply about nations competing against one another. It's about how economics, technology, finance, and security increasingly intersect. And that brings us to one of the most important questions in modern geopolitics. Who actually shapes the global economy? And how do financial markets, governments, corporations, and technological innovation influence one another? To answer that, we need to examine the changing relationship between capital, political power, and the industries driving the future. As the world entered the 21st century, power began to take on a new form. For centuries, nations measured their strength through territory, natural resources, and military capability. While those factors still matter today, Another source of influence has become increasingly important: technology. The companies designing advanced computer chips, developing artificial intelligence, building cloud infrastructure, and managing global data networks now occupy a central place in the modern economy. This raises an important question: who truly shapes the future? Is it governments? Is it corporations? Or is it the increasingly close relationship between the two? The answer is more complicated than many people realize. In every major economy, governments and private businesses depend on one another. Governments establish laws, regulate industries, invest in research, and provide national security. Private companies develop products, create jobs, build infrastructure, and drive innovation. Neither operates in complete isolation. Instead, they form an ecosystem where public policy and private investment constantly influence each other. History provides many examples. The internet itself originated from government-funded research. GPS was developed through military programs before becoming an everyday technology. Many advances in aerospace, medicine, and computing began with public investment before expanding into commercial markets. Artificial intelligence is following a similar path. Today, governments view AI not simply as another industry, but as critical national infrastructure. Whoever leads in AI could gain advantages in healthcare, finance, manufacturing, logistics, cybersecurity, scientific research, and national defense. That's why countries are investing enormous sums into computing capacity. But AI isn't just software. Behind every chatbot, recommendation engine, autonomous vehicle, or medical research system lies an immense physical infrastructure. Massive warehouses filled with servers, rows upon rows of advanced processors working around the clock, specialized cooling systems, high-voltage electrical connections, fiber optic networks carrying unimaginable amounts of information every second. These facilities, often called data centers, have become some of the most valuable pieces of infrastructure in the modern world, and they consume extraordinary amounts of electricity. Some estimates suggest that AI-related electricity demand could multiply several times over the next decade. Meeting that demand requires expanding power grids, constructing new energy facilities, improving transmission systems, and securing reliable supplies of critical minerals. Suddenly, energy security becomes technology security. Semiconductor manufacturing becomes national security. Supply chains become strategic assets. Even undersea communication cables become matters of geopolitical importance. This is why countries around the world are racing to strengthen their technological independence. Recent years have shown how vulnerable global supply chains can be. A disruption in one region can delay manufacturing on another continent. A shortage of semiconductor chips can affect everything from automobiles to smartphones and medical equipment. Governments have taken notice. Many are encouraging domestic manufacturing while also building partnerships with trusted allies. The goal is resilience, not isolation. Resilience. At the same time, competition among the world's largest economies continues to intensify. The United States remains a leader in software development, advanced research, and financial markets. China continues expanding its manufacturing capabilities while investing heavily in artificial intelligence and digital infrastructure. European countries are pursuing greater technological independence. India is rapidly growing as both a technology hub and a manufacturing center. Meanwhile, Gulf nations are investing hundreds of billions of dollars into AI, renewable energy, logistics, and advanced infrastructure as they diversify beyond oil. Every major region appears to recognize the same reality. The next generation of economic leadership will depend on innovation. But innovation requires stability. Think about what happens when global shipping routes are disrupted. Insurance costs rise, transportation slows, energy prices fluctuate, businesses delay investment, consumers face higher prices, financial markets become more volatile. large infrastructure projects become harder to finance. None of these conditions encourage long-term technological investment. For companies planning billion-dollar AI facilities expected to operate for decades, predictability is essential. Investors need confidence that supply chains will function. Engineers need reliable access to specialized equipment. Manufacturers need uninterrupted deliveries of components. Energy providers must ensure continuous electricity. One weak link can delay an entire project. This changing economic landscape has led many analysts to suggest that global priorities may gradually shift from managing conflict toward protecting infrastructure. That doesn't mean geopolitical competition disappears, far from it. Competition may simply evolve. Instead of competing primarily through military force, nations increasingly compete through technology, patents, education, scientific research, advanced manufacturing, and digital infrastructure. Economic influence becomes as important as military influence. Technological leadership becomes a strategic objective. Control over advanced computing becomes a national priority. In many ways, this competition is already underway. Countries are investing in quantum computing, artificial intelligence, semiconductor fabrication, space technology, cybersecurity, renewable energy, battery production, biotechnology. Each breakthrough has economic implications, but each also carries strategic significance. This creates an entirely new form of global rivalry, not one centered solely on weapons, but on innovation. However, technological competition introduces its own challenges. Artificial intelligence raises difficult questions about privacy. Automation may transform labor markets. Cybersecurity threats continue growing. Misinformation spreads faster than ever before. The same technologies capable of improving healthcare and scientific discovery can also be used for surveillance, cyber attacks, or autonomous military systems. Technology itself is neutral. Its impact depends on how societies choose to use it. That makes governance more important than ever. The rules established today may shape the digital world for generations. At the same time, citizens face new responsibilities. Understanding how technology influences politics, economics, and everyday life has become an essential skill. The future won't be shaped solely by governments or corporations. It will also be shaped by informed individuals who understand the forces transforming the world around them. As we look ahead, one thing becomes increasingly clear. The global economy is entering a period unlike any in history. Artificial intelligence may become as transformative as electricity, the automobile, or the internet. But unlike previous revolutions, this one is unfolding at extraordinary speed. Entire industries could change within a decade. New economic leaders may emerge. Old assumptions may no longer apply. And that brings us to the final question. If the global economy is truly entering a new era, driven by artificial intelligence, infrastructure, and advanced technology, what happens to the systems, institutions, and industries that defined the previous era? Are we witnessing the end of one model, or simply the evolution of another? That is where our story concludes. So where does all of this leave us? If you've stayed with me this far, you've probably realized that this story isn't really about one country, one leader, or one conflict. It's about change. Throughout history, every major economic era has eventually given way to another. The agricultural age gave way to the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution evolved into the Information Age. Now many experts believe we're entering the age of artificial intelligence. Each transition has reshaped industries, economies, and the balance of global power. Those who adapted often thrived. Those who resisted were often left behind. The same may be true today. Artificial intelligence is no longer a futuristic concept. It's already transforming medicine by helping doctors identify diseases earlier. It's accelerating scientific research by analyzing enormous data sets in minutes instead of months. It's changing education through personalized learning. It's improving logistics, finance, engineering, cybersecurity, and manufacturing. Governments understand this. Corporations understand this. Investors understand this. The race is no longer about simply building better software. It's about building the infrastructure that supports an entirely new digital economy. That's why we're seeing unprecedented investment in semiconductor manufacturing, why energy production has become a strategic priority, why countries are competing to secure supplies of critical minerals, why governments are investing in quantum computing, cybersecurity, and advanced research. The competition is becoming increasingly technological, but history reminds us of something important. Every technological revolution creates both opportunities and challenges. The steam engine created industry, but also transformed labor. Electricity changed civilization but required rebuilding infrastructure. The internet connected billions of people while introducing entirely new security risks. Artificial intelligence will likely follow the same pattern. It has enormous potential. But it also raises profound questions. How should AI be regulated? Who owns the data that trains these systems? How do societies balance innovation with privacy? How do governments encourage technological leadership while protecting individual rights? These questions don't have simple answers. They require thoughtful debate, careful policy, international cooperation, and perhaps most importantly, an informed public. Because technology itself doesn't determine the future. People do. The decisions made by governments, businesses, researchers, and ordinary citizens will shape the world our children inherit. Looking ahead, it's likely that global competition will continue. Countries will still pursue their national interests. Military alliances will still matter. Economic rivalries will continue. But the nature of that competition may gradually evolve. Instead of asking who controls the most territory, the more important question may become, who builds the most advanced technology? Who develops the most efficient energy systems? Who educates the most skilled workforce? Who creates the next breakthrough in artificial intelligence? Who secures the world's digital infrastructure? These are the questions that may define the next generation. Some analysts argue that the future belongs to those who master artificial intelligence. Others believe that manufacturing, energy independence, and demographic trends will ultimately matter more. The truth is probably somewhere in between. Technology alone cannot guarantee prosperity, nor can military power, nor financial influence. Long-term success depends on balancing all of these elements: economic resilience, scientific innovation, political stability, international cooperation, and public trust. Perhaps that's the biggest lesson history offers. No civilization remains dominant forever. Every era changes. Every system evolves. Every generation inherits challenges that previous generations never imagined. What matters is how societies respond. Do they embrace innovation responsibly? Do they invest in education? Do they strengthen institutions? Do they prepare for the future instead of clinging to the past? These choices will determine far more than any single geopolitical event. They will shape the 21st century itself. So, are we witnessing the end of an old model? Maybe. Or perhaps we're simply watching the beginning of another one. History rarely announces when it turns the page. Most people only recognize those moments years later. That's why understanding incentives, economics, technology, and global strategy matters so much. Not because anyone can predict the future with certainty, but because understanding the forces shaping the world helps us make better decisions today. The future won't belong to those who fear change. It will belong to those who understand it, to those who continue learning, to those who adapt, to those who ask difficult questions instead of accepting simple answers. Because in a rapidly changing world, knowledge is no longer just power. It is one of the most valuable investments anyone can make. Final thoughts. Whether you agree with every perspective discussed in this documentary or not, one thing is undeniable. The world is entering one of the most significant technological transformations in modern history. Artificial intelligence, advanced computing, energy infrastructure, and global finance are becoming increasingly interconnected. Understanding these trends isn't just important for governments or businesses, it's important for everyone. Because the decisions made today will influence the economy, careers, investments, education, and daily life for decades to come. The more we understand these forces, the better prepared we'll be for whatever comes next. Thank you for watching. If you found this documentary informative, consider subscribing for more in-depth breakdowns on global economics, technology, geopolitics, artificial intelligence, and the forces shaping our future. Leave a comment below with your perspective. Do you believe artificial intelligence will become the dominant force shaping the global economy? Or do you think traditional geopolitical competition will remain just as important? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you know someone who's fascinated by economics, technology, or world affairs, share this video with them. Until next time, keep asking questions, keep learning, and never stop looking beyond the headlines. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.